From the heart of Kansas City, we bring you Buck and Bob Take on Chiefs Kingdom, a podcast for fans, by fans, where we don't pretend to know everything and we probably don't know much, but we do know the Chiefs, at least we think we do, and that's what we talk about.
I'm Buck, and I am having the greatest time so far this season. I love this team, and I love this podcast.
And I'm Bob, and I have a knack for pissing people off and what many will say are bad takes.
Yeah, today we're going to talk about the upcoming game against the Broncos. We're going to talk a little bit about the game probably from last week, just to kind of to patch that one up. And we're probably going to talk a little bit about the remainder of the season, too. So strap in, turn on your headphones.
How about those Chiefs?
Bob, before we get started in today's episode, I have to talk to you about something. I want you to understand that I'm about to tell you about something that you were right about and I was wrong about. But
I mean, there's no telling. There's so many options for that.
All right. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to say whatever you want, gloat, do your talking shit thing. Then it's over. I don't want to hear, because I still am not hearing the end of the Hunt thing. And I wasn't even wrong about the Hunt thing. I didn't make any. I said I hope. So I'm going to give you your credos here, as Romeo Crudell used to say. But I went back. We've talked about Isaiah Pacheco and his running style. And Mel and I vehemently disagreed with your take on it. So I decided to look at the highlights just from last season. It was about a 15 to 20 minute video. And I was wrong, man. I was wrong. He is a hard runner. He runs like he's pissed off at the ground.
Oh, yeah.
But he doesn't break a lot of tackles. Now, he will uphold a tackler with him for a few yards, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. But when he gets into the pile, he's not going anywhere unless he's getting pushed. And sometimes it does take 3 guys to tackle him, but he's not breaking tackles. It just kind of seemed like that. When you look at the season as an overall, and we watch Pacheco and what he did all year, it looks like he's breaking a lot of tackles and getting away from a lot of guys, but he's really not. Once he gets touched, he's usually going down pretty soon after that. He just gets a lot of yardage after that initial contact. So I apologize. You were right. I was wrong. Mel was wrong, although she doesn't have to admit it because she didn't watch the footage that I did.
Yeah. All right. I'll do a little dance here. Little dance. Oh yeah.
You're not going to give me an I told you so?
Yeah, but it's something I watch running backs really intently. I mean, that's like I've got big thoughts on Edwards-Helaire. It's one of my favorite positions in the game. I loved it when playing Madden. I really love seeing the holes. I just love the whole thing about the running back. If I had to choose, if I could have any sort of, if I got 3 wishes from a genie and I wish to be in the NFL, I would want to be a running back. I just love the position. So I always watch him hard. And Pacheco's a great running back and he runs hard. He just doesn't have the weight, maybe is what it is, or I don't know what it is, because he's definitely got the tenacity and the toughness, but he doesn't seem to shed those tackles like a Kareem Hunt does. And I mean, but most people don't. I mean,
yeah. So to your point, that was one glaring thing I noticed when I was watching these highlights is, we've had Kareem Hunt now for 4 games, and we're used to seeing him in 25.
More than 4, right?
Something like that. 4? Either way. So my point is, we've been watching him, 25 to 30 carries a game now, and we just kind of get used to seeing him on the field. So that's the body image that I have in my mind with running back, and then I watch these replays from Pacheco from last year, and he's a lot smaller. He really is a lot smaller. But I think the reason that we had it wrong is because he does pull those defenders with him for extra yards every time. So to us, with just the eye test and not thinking we were going to have this conversation ahead of time, he looks like the guy that we thought he was. And then we see Hunt doing it. And in my mind, it was just a continuation of Pacheco. I really didn't realize the amount of broken tackles that Hunt was creating. It's definitely a different. It's similar running style. It really is. And I think Pacheco's a little bit faster, but he definitely he definitely could shed a tackle or two more. Would be nice. But it's going to be a great addition when he comes back, because now you've got two similar running backs with just a few different, little here and there points about them. It's going to be an amazing tandem. It really will be fun.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting because there's this other channel that I really like. It's mostly these two guys that do. It's the channel Chiefs Concerns, and they do podcasts. They also do, other breakdowns, news things. They do a lot of stuff on YouTube. I've watched them actually a while, like before we even, did the Chiefs podcast. I watched them quite a bit, but there was one of the guys on there that was saying he doesn't want Steele on the team. He doesn't want Steele getting the ball. And I was thinking to myself, dude, if you look at, I don't have the stats in front of me, but if you look at the amount of carries that Hunt has right now, and he's only played half of the season so far, he's like third in the NFL for carries. I mean, we need to save his, I want Steele in. We need to save his, stamina for the playoffs. And I know we're going to talk about Pacheco because he's possibly coming back in 2, maybe 3 weeks. And we could do that, but I think Steele is still a good asset and a project player for the future. But boy, the one guy on the podcast, I'm horrible that I'm forgetting his name, but
what was his reasoning? Was it performance based, or was it just
we
already got enough running backs?
No, he does not have faith in him.
Did you watch him at all during the preseason? Did he say anything good about him during the preseason, or was it?
I don't.
I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I don't remember, but he's like lost all faith. I'm sure it's the
fumbles,
that play into it. But I see something for the future, and what he was asked to do for that week or two that he was thrown in, I mean, was a lot for an undrafted free agent.
Yes, it was.
I mean, he needs time to learn. We saw he does, like, Carson Steele has a good chance to be a star later, or at least a really good player.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I really want to keep him on the team. Plus, we need a fullback, kind of.
Well, I just think that, since Hunt has come back and he's been taking the lion's share of the carries, Steele just hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities. And when he has had opportunities, he hasn't done anything spectacular. And so when he's only getting the chance to carry it 2 or 3 times a game, you're really limiting that potential. I agree with you, though. I think the guy has great potential, and I think developing him for maybe next season would be a huge asset for us, for sure.
Yeah, and if we're going to boil down to it, if you're, he's talking about Pacheco coming back. I want Hilaire out, not Steele. I'm sorry, I do not think he is. I just don't think he's NFL material, and I don't think he ever has been. And I know you've been a little bit of a fan of him, but I'm
I
not.
have. I have. I mean, if you got to put a gun to my head and say you got to choose one of them, man, that'd be a tough one, because I mean, Allaire has never been gangbusters, but he's been dependable. And then
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
when Pacheco became the guy, and it was pretty evident he was kind of passing Allaire as the number one running back, he started running harder. He started
He did.
copying Pacheco's style. And I think he was pretty successful with it, honestly, when he started doing that. I think if you put a gun to my head, just because of past performance, I would pick Allaire over Steele. But we're talking by like 49.9% to 50.1%. I mean, it's so close. I don't think I don't foresee them getting rid of either one of them right now. I really don't. I mean, I
I just don't know
understand.
who they take out.
Well, we did just release. Oh, I saw it earlier today. We released, I want to say, a wide receiver, but like bottom of the list. I can't even remember the guy's name at this point. I was in the middle of doing my notes and I had 43 different things on my screen. So it was just kind of a piece of information. But we did make a roster spot today. And it's a guy that's been with the team for 2 Super Bowls. He's got 2 rings. I wish I could remember who that was. Let's see if I got it.
Well, and what's a little bit sad though, but I kind of have to bring it up because you kind of made me think of it when you said gun to your head. And I wonder if I wonder if the PTSD of hurting someone affects his running style. I mean, if you don't have that killer mentality anymore, shouldn't use that word, but if you don't have that, if you're scared to hurt somebody, I mean, you're not going to be a great running back. And
but I think the
I feel
PTSD.
bad saying it.
I feel like the PTSD is something that he's probably been dealing with for a long time and just kind of suppressing it. So I don't think it's something that he just all of a sudden this season was like, oh, PTSD. I don't know if I can run like that anymore. I mean, he's been running
Oh
the way
no,
that he's
I'm
been
saying
running.
it's been that way the entire time that he's been in the NFL.
Right.
Was
And
what I'm
if that's
saying.
the case, I'm good with the way that he runs. I don't think that he's going to change his style. I mean, if it was something that happened this offseason and we're worried about how it could affect his play going forward, then I would kind of see your point. But I mean, he has been dealing with this for a long time. And I'm just kind of assuming that with this season was when he finally kind of reached out to get some help and is starting to address it. I don't know. That's just kind of an assumption. But if anything, I think it may help him this long break, mentally and physically. I mean, he's going to be fresh.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that you talk about him like running harder after Pacheco,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean he actually started out his rookie year at a 4.4 average, four TDs. Then he went to a 4.3 average in 2021, then a 4.3 average in 2022, then a 3.2 average in 2023. So, I mean,
Yeah, but I think defenses were game planning different for us in 2023 with the understanding that Pacheco was there. So I think and we were starting to turn more towards the run last year. So that may be a little bit of a skewed thing. I didn't say his numbers are better and he's statistically a better running back. I just mean he started to run harder. You know how Pacheco does that thing where he just beats the ground with his feet? I feel like I saw that a lot more with Allaire last season.
Well, and I'll go even further to say that the only reason he had those types of yards, that type of yards per carry, is because that's when the offense was throwing the ball all over the field, and teams weren't really worrying about covering the run. I just don't think he's a. I don't think he is. I think he's definitely a dependable running back, but I've not seen enough to want to keep him on as anything more than like your third string. And I'd rather have Steele as a possible like good star moving forward than have Clyde Edwards.
Well, I'll tell you, the last thing that I want to happen is for this season to kind of end the way that it's going now, and we don't know a whole lot more about Steele. And then next year, something happens where he just something snaps in his head, and he just starts running better, and he gets more carries, and he becomes like a 600-700 yard rusher next year. And all I'm going to hear is Bob go, "I was right. You remember I was right about Steele. I was right. We should have got rid of Allaire." Because I don't disagree with you. I don't. I just, on this point specifically, getting rid of one or the other, I think that I would just a little bit prefer Allaire. But hey, man, I still believe in Steele. I still believe he's got a lot of potential.
Well, I'd love to hear it.
Think he'll be great
In the
real good.
I'd love to hear the comments from you guys or voicemails 816-866-1066 or anything. Tell us what you would do. Would you keep Steele or would you keep Edwards, Allaire?
Vote for Allaire, guys. Come on. Let's put Bob in this. Let me be right about something.
You're right about stuff. You're right about stuff.
I know.
What do we got next, though, Buck?
Well, we were going to kind of go over how the Chiefs have been playing recently and how the team's performing. We've got a few statistics on Mahomes and how he's doing overall for the year, and then before DeAndre and after DeAndre, and kind of how his stats have been affected a little bit.
Did you want to go over the injury report first, though?
Yeah. We can go over injuries first. Yeah, I just kind of put that in the wrong order on my list. Sorry.
I mean, we can do either. Yeah, I'm cool with either. Either one first.
Yeah, let's start with the injuries. We all know Pacheco. He is expected to resume practicing in 2 to 3 weeks, which is Ian Rappaport had reported on that on the NFL Network. That's a really good sign. Now, you did kind of mention earlier that 2 to 3 weeks he's going to be back. I think that some people might misunderstand that 2 to 3 weeks means he's back on the field, but that just means he's going to be practicing within 2 to 3 weeks. And it's still not a guarantee, but it's a huge sign for the home field stretch of the season when we really need him. So I'm super excited to get Pacheco back. And from the interviews we did before the game on Monday night, a lot of people agree with us on that one.
Everybody loves Pacheco.
Yeah.
I mean, rightfully so. I mean, not just is he a good player, but he's just a good dude. He stays late. I mean, he's there a couple hours sometimes after games, still signing autographs when every other Chief is at the after party. I mean, he's just a great dude. But I don't know if he comes back right when he returns, but it looks like he could be back, and we really do need him back. I mean, we're gonna break Kareem Hunt. I mean, we are gonna break him.
He's gonna let us too.
Yeah,
he's just so happy to be in that golden red uniform.
And he's the type of guy that's just gonna be like, "Okay, coach," and he's gonna go in. And he's going to pretend that it's not wearing on him, but he's an older man now. And that's just the way it works. I mean, only Jerry Rice can play a skill position for that long. And I know quarterback you might call a skill position, but I don't think of that as like the skill position of running back, wide receiver, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree with you. I was going to say, what about Tom Brady? But yeah, you already answered that before I had a chance to get it out.
I mean, we need to maybe play Steele more. I'm gonna disagree with Chiefs concerns respectively, respectfully. Disagree and say I think Steele needs more carries. And if you're not happy with Steele, fine. P. Ryan maybe, but P. Ryan is a third down running back. He's not really a premier back. Like, that's not his skill set. I mean, he probably could do it in a pinch, but I think he's much better coming in fresh for third downs, and I love him there.
I'm becoming more and more impressed with P. Ryan every single week, to be honest. He doesn't get a whole lot of touches, but he's really been making the most of those touches here recently, kind of like Noah Gray was.
Oh yeah.
So I'm all in on the P. Ryan thing, at least for now. He's really good catching the ball, though, man, out of the backfield. He's dependable.
Yep.
And he gets out there. So yeah, I'm all about sticking with P. Ryan too.
All right, what's
But
next?
I agree, though. I think if we're going to, before we go on to what's next, if we're going to spend the time and energy to work with Carson Steele as a future project, something that can really benefit us over the next few years, then I 1000% agree with you. Let's get him in there for 5 to 10 touches a game. Give him a little bit more juice.
Well, and it's pretty cool that he's getting to be in the locker room and in practices with both P. Ryan, Hunt, and soon Pacheco too.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
and he was in with Pacheco before. I mean, that's a lot of knowledge that he can soak up. I'm sure he's working hard at it. So
yeah,
I'm hoping it sticks.
Yep. But to continue with the injuries, Tershawn Wharton, he's questionable for the game.
Remind me, Tershawn Wharton, is this his
lineman?
Defensive lineman, right?
No, offensive.
Really?
No. You're right. It is defensive. My bad.
Isn't this the one we drafted not this season, but the season prior?
Oh, I don't remember when we got him. To be honest with you, he's had a few big spotlights, especially over the last few weeks. So maybe we'll take a look at some highlight reels of him during our break, just to kind of refresh our mind. But he's definitely not somebody that we want to be out of the game. Speaking of defensive,
I am so wrong. Jeez Louise. This is our okay. Yeah, no, this is isn't this the second tackle? Isn't this our second tackle?
You're calling me out here. I'm gonna have to look it up now.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we got him in 2020. We did draft him. This is not the player I was thinking of. This, I mean, this is the type of player you forget about on a team. I mean, it really is. I mean, he had
not a big stat guy.
Yeah,
but he's a
exactly.
big support guy.
Yeah. And so I think that's why you kind of forget these types of guys.
Yeah. Now he did miss practice today, so we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on him, see if he's going to play on Sunday. Charles Omenihu. It's been week after week, and we don't have anything concrete. It's still a little more just like, a little bit of teasing by Andy Reid, but he said Wednesday that he's getting close to returning to practice. So I feel like he said that a few times over the last month, though, too. So, I'm not going to get my hopes up on that yet, especially with the addition of Uche. I think that'll kind of put a Band-Aid on that area of the defense there for a little bit. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like we're going to see him by the playoffs.
See, we get him back in, and I'll tell you what I would do, and I'm definitely not as smart as Spags, but what I would do is I would turn Uche into a third down defensive specialist. End. A third down specialist, because he's, a 3-4 linebacker, but he's a pass rusher. So, we saw him in the game lining up, and I was super interested to see if he'd be in a 3-point stance, and he definitely was not. And I was
not at all.
I was just like, interesting. Spags is, because I wouldn't know how to properly handle that, but Spags moves the line all over the place. And from what I hear, I was listening to Chris Jones in his presser today, and they're like, so why does Spags let you, switch all over the line. Like, when did that happen? He was like, when Spags told me I could. And he goes, actually, sometimes he doesn't tell me I can, and I do it. And then I hope that it turns into something good. He was so funny. I was cracking up. I was just dying laughing. Oh my God. He was like, I don't know, Spags. It's a work in progress. We keep talking about it. We're trying to loosen him up.
Yeah, I heard a little bit of the Spags interview too, and I was, oh God, man, we're so lucky to have this guy. Somebody asked him, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but what's been the formula of success so far this year? With the you could tell he was asking the question with the understanding that the defense has definitely been the support for this team getting the wins this whole season. And his first initial response was, well, it definitely all starts with the coach and our quarterback. And then we just try to make our way in the team that, he almost kind of downplayed his role in the whole winning 8-0, right now. So I just love that guy. I really do.
But yeah, so Charles Omenihu, I really think will be like the main state.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm not positive. I'm not positive, but I think with the way our defense is and being a 4-3 and stuff, and I think Omenihu might be a little better against the run, I think we'll probably see. I mean, it would be awesome just to bring Uche in fresh for third down rushing, pass rushing downs. I mean, it could be huge for us to, because those guys get gassed, and if Uche can come in and spell Omenihu, but also Omenihu's coming back from a knee injury that we don't know that he'll ever be the same player. So we do have to keep that in mind and be hopeful, but also is the word pragmatic about the situation. I think pragmatic's the right word.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was like Mahomes. What word did he use in his press conference? And he was like, "Wait, is that right?" And he was like, "Oh, sorry, it's a big word for me." What was it? Oh my gosh, it was great though. All right, well, leave it in the comments, guys, if you can think of it. I keep saying leave it in the comments and everything.
We haven't been looking at the comments.
No, I've looked at them all. You haven't been looking at anything.
I've been, man, I've been so busy.
But I'm kind of spoiled because on my other podcast, I've got 20, 30,000 listeners, and when I ask a question, it's like a cheat code. I get an answer. I get life hacks. I get all this different stuff, and now when I ask a question, it's like crickets. But hopefully someday we will have that cheat here as well.
Hopefully what do we got next? Nazi Johnson. He is listed as questionable, but he was at full practice yesterday. We didn't get an update about today's practice, but he was practicing yesterday. That's a good sign. Yeah.
Yeah. Our corner room is really hurting, and it's such an important role.
Yep. Mecole Hardman was questionable.
Speaking of that.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, we'll just throw it in here as a little side. Patrick Peterson is a free agent.
Cool. So Mecole Hardman is questionable.
No, you don't.
Not even a little bit. No.
Really?
No, man.
And he was a jerk, but he was such a good player. And he had so many
had me,
picks.
And he was a jerk. He doesn't fit in with the personality of this team.
He also
I feel
was
like
greedy.
Max Crosby would be a much better fit for this defense.
Max Crosby? Who's Max Crosby?
Oh, the Raiders guy that you hate.
I'm thinking corners. We don't need a defensive end.
No, I know, but this was a kind of the same conversation. Like, I don't want Patrick Peterson at all.
Max Crosby is so much grosser. So much grosser. But how do we know that Patrick hasn't changed his ways? How do we know? Because that guy. In his time here at Kansas City, he had so many picks, but he also gave up a lot of big plays because he was greedy going for interceptions. That is a thing. Still, man, he was pretty great.
But
Also,
he gets his temper is just like so quick, and that kind of personality doesn't mesh with this team's personality right now. We're all happy-go-lucky, it's always a party. Even when we're losing, everybody's still in the game and focused on what needs to happen to get back into the game. And I feel like Patrick Peterson is a guy that if he gets torched, once or twice in a game, his mind is going to be not 100% of where it should be. I just, I loved what he did for the team when he was on the team, but I never liked the guy that he was, even when he was on the team. I was sad to see him go just because the interceptions were leaving, but I was happy to see that personality leave this team, and I have zero interest in him coming back.
Okay. Well,
regardless of what he offers to numbers.
Who was the other one? Who's the other corner that is free right now? Oh, man, I can't even think of it.
Well, let's just finish up the injuries real quick. I'll just list the other two. McCole Hardman was limited in today's practice, and Juju Smith-Schuster. He's also listed as questionable. He didn't practice today. So my guess is we probably won't be seeing him on Sunday. But we didn't have him last week either, and we played okay. So when he does come back, that's all the better. But it's okay if he doesn't make it back. But McCole, I will say McCole Hardman, that is a little bit of a gut punch because his returns the last few weeks, he's really had some slick returns, punt returns.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree with you on Juju. I mean, come on.
Well, what do you disagree with? That you're not worried about him coming back soon?
Well, no, I'd love him to come back soon. I mean, he.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying there's no need to rush him back.
Okay.
We don't need him on the field at 70% because we don't have any other wide receivers. We have the wide receiver core now that we can get him to 85, 90%, and we can afford that. Even if we lose a ball game because of it. We've said this 100 times. We're going to say it 100 more. We're not going undefeated this year. I don't want to go undefeated this year. This team doesn't play well under that pressure. I love it when they have that whole chip on their shoulder, like, they got beat. Yep, they're beatable, and they're like, oh, hold my beer. I'm going to win 14 Super Bowls in a row.
I want them to lose at least one game. I'm just not so sure it's going to happen anymore.
I want them to lose 2 in a row. I want it to, because that's when it really hurts and they really turn it up. If they lose 2 in a row, I can't tell you which 2 I want them to lose because it's going to hurt like hell to watch it 2 weeks in a row, and it's going to be a bummer. But I think going, through the rest of the season, honestly, I think it'll help. But it's not going to hurt my feelings if we go undefeated.
Yep, it's just like there's too many comparisons to the Randy Moss run of undefeated, and then they lose the Super Bowl. And that's like
a miraculous catch.
It was like, the beginning of the downfall of the Patriots dynasty.
It was. Well, I don't. Okay, you said there was
the beginning of the downfall.
Parallels, yeah, but I don't think I don't think that would be the beginning of our downfall if we were to go undefeated to the Super Bowl and lost. I don't think, but that was later in Patrick's or in Tom Brady's career, though, when that happened. He wasn't 28, 29 years old.
And I'll be honest. I think that, unfortunately, I think Bill and Tom were a really good team. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, I think, were a fantastic team. And I think at some point, they both got big heads, and they got tired of the media saying one thing or the other. It was all Belichick. It was all Brady. I'm just saying, from what I saw, this is just the eye test, but I think that they both got full of themselves in their head and then all of a sudden stopped working as a team. And it's something that happens, man, it happens to podcasters. Like I've seen podcasters start and they'll have like, 2 or 3 people on the show, and then one person gets a lot of attention and they get a big head and all of a sudden think, well, I'm the star of the show. Same with like anything on TV. But what people just don't realize is the chemistry of the team is what makes the show. It's not just you. It was a hard lesson I learned first when I first started in podcasting. I joined a podcast and I thought my shit didn't stink because all of a sudden the podcast blew up. It was doing good. And I was like, oh, this is all me. And then I realized, no, it's my chemistry with my co-hosts that makes it good, and I think that's what happened to Tom Brady and to Bill Belichick. But I mean, it's just the eye test.
Well, wait a minute. When you say that you
Speculation.
think that's what happened, I mean, it's not like they fell apart over the last 3 years and then just nothing worked. I mean, they were successful all the way up pretty much to the end. So, like, what happened to him is Tom Brady just got traded because he was getting old and they thought it was time to start with a young quarterback again. I don't think anything happened. I mean, Tom Brady went on to Tampa Bay and won another Super Bowl. So.
Tom didn't get traded. Basically, the franchise was just dying out. They had they did poor. They did poor in the draft for a few years. Tom saw the writing on the wall. Tom retired, and then Tom unretired and went to Tampa Bay. I mean. So,
but he wasn't good. He wasn't over the hill.
No.
He wasn't. He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and fantastic.
But what I'm
style
saying
too.
is that the franchise was going into a downfall at that point. Like, it was a slow burn, but it was burning out. They win that Super Bowl. With the undefeated year, they keep the whole bus like rolling. Us, the Chiefs have that advantage that the Patriots had at that time. Everybody wants to come to us. They are willing to take these low, like huge NFL legends are willing to take this low pay cut to be part and to get a ring. And that's the power that we have right now. And when everybody talks about how the refs rigged the game for the Chiefs, that's bullshit. But what we do have is an extreme advantage in the league because everybody wants to come play for us. And that is a huge advantage. And some would say unfair, but that's how human brains work, So
I don't think that's an unfair advantage. I know you said some would say unfair.
Oh yeah, I said some would say.
There is an unfair advantage, but that's not the advantage that's unfair. The unfair part is that Brett Veach can offer half a bologna sandwich and get Tom Brady to come out of retirement if he needs to. I don't understand how he gets these players for these low round picks. And let's not forget, this is the Chiefs, 4th or 5th round draft pick we're talking about. So it's not early in the round.
Lowest. It's like one of the worst 4th or 5th rounds.
It blows my mind what he gets accomplished.
All right, well, let's move into the stats you were wanting to talk about. But first off, let's take a quick timeout.
All right.
And we're back from timeout. Buck wanted to talk some stats.
Game on. So let's talk about Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback that's struggled all season, yet somehow still manages to be undefeated.
I mean, I just want to point out he has not struggled in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And he has not struggled on third down. He's actually one of the highest rated quarterbacks in the league on both third down and in the fourth quarter. So,
which was one of my points. When it counts, Patrick Mahomes is not a struggling quarterback.
Yeah, but some people at home might
but
not
if you
know
look,
what it counts means.
so
There might
so
be
if you,
some, there might be some new football fans watching the show, you know, Taylor Swift, Swifties. They might not
but
understand when it counts.
for those of you that are just looking at stat lines, his stats are not anything to write home about. I mean, we all know how he's doing with interceptions to touchdowns. He's finally has more touchdowns than interceptions. He didn't throw an
Wait, did he?
interception last week. Yes, he's at 11 touchdowns now, and he's at 9 interceptions.
Oh my gosh.
I know. You got a hallelujah? Yeah.
Oh man, I've been waiting to use that.
Yes. Yeah. So the last couple weeks, we've seen some interesting stuff with our receiving core and our offense, right? We've seen the defense has to spread out now because we've got a star Hall of Fame wide receiver that they have to respect.
Yep.
Because
Kelsey's
he's not,
got what?
and Kelsey's
He's
opening
got
up, I think,
24. He had 10 and
catches.
then 14. Or it might have been 9. It's either 23 or 24 catches in the last 2 games and almost 200 yards.
So 14 catches in the last game it tied his record high, right? I think that's what they said.
No, it was his record high. Mahomes was pretty sure that he had a 16 catch one, but he said, it might have been in the playoffs, but nobody ever came out and said, I didn't look it up, but I think that is his highest. It definitely wasn't tied.
So I wonder where that 2-game stretch then kind of lands him on the all-time 2-game receptions over 2 games, 2 consecutive games. Just kind of curious.
Yeah,
but to get back on Mahomes. So I've kind of looked at some stats. The numbers are kind of amazing. Over the last 2 games, since we've got DeAndre Hopkins, his completions and attempts have just through the roof. He had 127 completions in the 6 games prior to DeAndre Hopkins joining this team. In 2 games with DeAndre Hopkins, he's got 61 completions. That's almost half in a third of the time. He had 187 attempts. He's had 82 attempts over 2 games. We're talking a difference that's
he's
10.
Also 5 TDs and 1 interception in the last 2 games.
Yes. Yeah, actually, is that right?
Yep. 2 TDs to 1 interception against Las Vegas, and then 3 TDs and 0 interceptions against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Now his long for the season was, I believe it was with Rice, 54 yards, and they haven't come close to that yet. Although that catch in triple coverage, I don't know why. I just kind of assumed
it wasn't Rice.
60. It wasn't.
No, it was. Yeah,
was it a Kelsey scramble?
No, it had to have been Worthy. Rice was out after Cincy, right?
That one bomb, I think it was in week 2. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, because his long was in week 4.
Week 4, then. Okay.
I think you're thinking of the Rice Cincy one. I think Rice got a 44 long in the Cincy game.
No, actually, it was week 5 against the Chargers. In week 4 against New Orleans, he had a 50-yard reception. Somebody did. I'm just looking at Mahomes stats right now. So
yeah, I think you're thinking of the 44 one.
Okay.
Which was in the Cincy game. I think that was to Rice. It was, I think, Rice's longest reception too.
Yeah, I'm sure. So his long, this last week was 35. That was that bomb to DeAndre that absolutely just blew everybody's mind. And I'm not talking about Kansas City fans.
Yeah, the one where he threw it into triple coverage and Hopkins still came down.
And it was a broken play on, Mahomes had no idea where he was going to go when he took off, and he saw it downfield and he was getting hit that is so cool that he's on our team.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, now his sacks per game have gone up. He was at 1.8 sacks per game for the first 6 games. Now he had 5 sacks over the last 2 games, so that's 2.5 sacks per game. I would almost attribute that to, now that he's got the superstar on the field, he wants to give it just a half a second more just to see if he can get his guy downfield. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just a freak one game weird stat thing where it's going to even out at the end of the year and he's going to have less sacks? I don't know.
Well, I mean, the
Honestly,
Bucks got
I don't
4.
know.
I mean, the Bucks got 4. Like 4 is
Yes.
quite a bit. I mean, it was a Monday night game, prime time. I think we could probably just look that off.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, he had 3 against the Chargers from the Chargers too. So,
Yeah, but I mean,
he's had a few sacks.
He's basically been sacked every other game 2 times except for one that he took no sacks.
Yep,
But it's okay to take sacks at times. Sometimes it's the right thing to do if there's no other option, you know.
Yeah, but everybody feels like this is a running team, and I think it has been. But over the last 2 weeks, when you look at the averages, he was at 21.17 completions per game. That went up to 30.5 with DeAndre. And he was at 31 attempts, and he was at 41 attempts over the last 2 weeks with DeAndre. So he's throwing it a lot more. And if he's throwing it more, that usually probably equates to an extra sack or 2 also.
Yep.
So maybe that's to explain what the extra sack is from. And that 4-sack game that you just mentioned is one of the games in that 2-game set that kind of skews the numbers a little bit. If you're right, and that was just a one-off time, it's just a weird game where they got 4 sacks off, like I said, it's going to even out, and at the end of the year I think that number will be a lot better. But DeAndre Hopkins joining this team at this time, I think, is one of the biggest moves that I can remember since drafting Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, and so many people didn't even know how big of a move drafting Patrick Mahomes was.
I don't think many people did.
No, I remember being at the steakhouse off of like 18th and Main. I forget the name of it. It's where they dry age the
Hereford
steaks.
House?
No. The Hereford. You basically just like you just compared like a Ferrari to a Ford
to a car
Mustang.
I don't know.
Yeah,
no.
I mean, I'll give Hereford House Ford Mustang, but this is like a Ferrari steakhouse where they actually age the beef, like not in a fridge in a dry thing. You can go down and watch you can go down and not watch it age, because I mean, I guess you are watching it really slowly age, but you can go down and see it like hanging in their basement. It's a really cool place. I can't think of the name of it, but I was in there when, the year Alex was still the starter. Mahomes is in there and nobody even recognizes him. I mean, It was crazy. And I did. And I was like, dude, that's the new, and it was at the point where I didn't even know how to say his name at that point. I was like, it starts with an M. The quarterback we drafted, he's just right there. And I should have got a selfie because he actually would have appreciated it at that point, getting recognized.
I was really high on hoping that would happen and thinking there was no way it was going to happen, because anybody that knows history of the Chiefs, we have not drafted a quarterback in the first round since I think it was 1983, Todd Blackledge. And that bombed, absolutely bombed. And this team was like, yep, not going to do that again.
Well,
that thought process and that specific decision in 1983 caused this team to go through a decades-long slump where, we would get to the playoffs, sure, but there was no real hope in a Super Bowl for any of those teams.
Yeah, well, for me, I remember talking to Adam at work. You remember Adam. Mm-hmm. I don't think he listens to the pod, but if he ever does, I remember talking to him, and when Andy Reid first came in, the draft that came up, it was either his first year or the second year we had Andy. The draft came up, and Geno Smith was on there, and people were talking about us taking Geno and Andy Reid making him the next McNabb. And I wish Mel was here because Mel could corroborate this. I have said, dude, if Andy takes Geno, we have our quarterback of the future because he knows exactly what he's doing. And then we didn't take Gino. I was like, damn. And then when we did draft Patrick, I was like, dude, nobody understands how big of a deal this is. Nobody understands. This is huge. So I knew. And then I also said, I hope he doesn't come in this first year because Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, Aaron sitting for a year under Brett, like really was like recent in my brain. And I was just thinking, we need to do that. And there's a few teams in the NFL that if they could have done that, you know, this year with their rookies could have like been helped out. But I think this is even a bigger move than drafting Patrick Mahomes.
Because that wasn't the
Patrick
superstar that was impossible to get. He was just some dude that had a boatload of potential that nobody really saw except for Andy. So this is probably a bigger deal than that. Yeah.
This is unreal. I mean, for a 5th round, if we don't go to the Super Bowl, and if we go to the Super Bowl, it's a 4th round. I mean,
that's stupid.
I will say, at the same time, the Patriots did get Randy Moss for a 4th round, but Randy was older. I think we could be seeing stuff from Hopkins, good things. I mean, he looks healthy. He looks like he really keeps in shape. Looks like he eats healthy. He's keeping his body young. I mean, we could see another 4 to 5 years of greatness from him. So I think it was one of the biggest moves in NFL history, right before the trade deadline.
Absolutely, 100%. And, you know, just going back a second, I just got to say, you know what? I love Hereford House. That is some good steak. You can say what you want. I love Ford Mustangs too.
Hey, dude, I love Ford Mustangs too. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a good steakhouse, but this place is like, you're going to pay double what you pay at Hereford House, and you're not going to get sides. You're going to get, you know, just a little steak right there. And I mean, it's going to taste a lot better than Hereford House too.
That's a tall bar, buddy.
And then
I'll believe you.
Now, if you want to go down to like the Ford Tempo, you know, like that's
Applebee's.
No, that's Outback right there, you know.
Oh, I mean, they're not Hereford House, but I had like a bad steak.
I've had many bad steaks there. I don't eat there anymore. Now I'll
Why
go there
would you
for a
keep going
bloomin'
back
onion.
there? Why would you keep going back?
Because they did good for a long time. They did good for a long time. Like, they were really good for a long time. And then
how many bad steaks do you think you had there? 10?
3. Oh, no. 3. And I remember the last time I was like, all right, Mel, we've tried 3 different ones. We're not coming back. And we've never been back.
Okay. I just wouldn't constitute 3 as a lot, but I hear you. It is a lot of money to pay for 3 steaks that were bad.
Yep.
So, all right, fair enough. Fair point.
But yeah,
right,
now I'm going to have to take you to that steakhouse just so you understand. Yeah. Stay tuned. I will be taking him to that steakhouse probably in March when Planet Comic-Con comes in town. I'm gonna take him there.
I will say this though, it has been a long time since I've been to Hereford House. It would almost be unfair to eat this awesome steak and then not have a Hereford House steak in the same time area to kind of compare them. But
I mean, if you have this steak, you'll probably just be like, "Damn, that's the best steak I've ever had in my life."
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's unreal. All right, but so what do we have next?
Well, we
were just over here just like singing D-Hop's praise. I mean, I do think we need to get the song going. D-Hop, hop, hop, D-Hop. Give me that D-Hop, hop, hop,
can't give him Hanson.
Oh, D-Hop, hop, hop,
D-Hop, I wouldn't do that to
Give
you.
me that D-Hop, hop, hop, D. No.
See if maybe Bone Thugs and Harmony can put something together.
Well, all of our Canadian listeners, are gonna love that. Wait, no.
Were they Canadian?
Was Hanson big in Canada, or am I thinking of Australia? I
I
don't
have
know
no
what I'm
idea.
thinking. I have no
I
idea.
have
Yeah.
no idea. It was
We'll
not
just
my
cut
cup of
that. Cut
tea.
that. Cut that.
Yeah. Back from break. No, I was so I was kind of going over some stats. I was looking at the Chiefs and how we do offensively, defensively, special teams, turnovers, all that stuff, and then how the opponents do against the Chiefs. And then I was looking at the Broncos and how their opponents have done against them. I Nothing really jumps out at me as scary by this team. I did see some highlights over the last couple of weeks of the Broncos, and I will say that Bo Nix
Bo
looked
Nix looks good.
sneaky fast too. When he was scrambling, it was almost like it was effortless. But he's a big guy. It's not like he's small and quick. He's tall and lanky, and he just seemed to glide too. It seemed effortless. But that's just an eye test thing, right? That's not a stats, something that you can throw down on paper and prove it. But I will tell you a couple of the stats that just kind of jumped out on paper to me as far as what we're going up against. When you look at sacks, for instance, the Broncos have had 15 sacks for a total of 102 yards lost this season. The Chiefs have had 16, so right there with them, and they've lost 101 yards. Now we've given up 17 sacks, but for only 65 yards, which is really low. The Broncos' opponents have sacked the Broncos 31 times for 179 loss. That is a big, big number that I think that we can exploit. I think Spags is going to throw some exotic looks in the mix, and I think he's going to try to exploit that statistic specifically. And rushing. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to add something to that?
No, you go.
I was just going to move on to the next stat that it kind of leaped out at me. So the rushing yards. Now the Broncos are actually rushing more than the Chiefs by just a skosh, as my mom would say. But the big thing that leaps out to me is that the Chiefs are, as we all know, one of the best rushing defenses in the league. But the Broncos have given up 978 yards to their opponents, and the Chiefs have rushed for 979 yards. That's a difference of 1 yard, which tells me that the Chiefs are going to continue to do exactly what they've done in the running game and have the exact same amount of success. So I expect Kareem Hunt to have a pretty successful day. And by successful, I think we're looking at maybe 80 yards or so on 25 carries and hopefully a touchdown. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot more than that because I feel like the aerial game is starting to pick up a little bit.
Yeah, but also looking at this, we've only given up 671 rushing yards, and you have to remember about 100 of those yards were Lamar Jackson.
Oh, I think it was more than that. I think he was well over 100.
Yeah.
I want to say he was in the 120-yard range. I wish I had stats to back that up. It's just a feeling, but he did. He absolutely ran all over us, and we're still number 2.
Yeah, we're sitting at 671. I think the fact that they are heavy rushing is going to play to our advantage, and I think we're going to hold the rushing down. But Bo Nix might. I think Bo Nix might be a lot of this stat too. I think he might account for like a fourth of these rushing yards.
Yes, absolutely. And that's not going to happen.
That's the same thing Lamar Jackson is. So that might be.
But he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not that fast. He's just sneaky fast for his size, is all I'm saying. Now he's a bigger guy, so maybe he's got some more power. I didn't catch any of that. Whether he likes to barrel down and go into the defenders like a Josh Allen, I don't know. I think we're going to find out a lot about Bo Nix, though, as Chiefs fans this week, and I'm really excited about that.
But
now, here's the other thing.
Look at the penalties, though.
Yes.
Look at the penalties on this
team. That was the next thing I was going to talk. Well, I had another point, and then that one was next. But yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up penalties.
They have given up a lot of penalties. And they've been penalized against a lot too. So, oh wow, look at that. So we've only had 42 penalties and they've had 63 over the season.
Yeah, and so they've got basically Oh, I can't do the math, but oh yeah, they have almost 50% more. They are almost 50% more penalized than we are. That's nuts.
That is going to play into the refs are on the Chiefs side. That's all that's going to do, that stat right there, which I hate. But I
But
think
it also tells me the Broncos players are dirty.
I think that what that shows is exactly what you're saying. They're dirty. I don't want to accuse them of that because I haven't watched too much of their
I
football
haven't
team this
either.
year,
But
so I can't
it
say
could
that. But
it
it
could just be
does
really bad offensive line.
ugly, yes, ugly play or defense. It doesn't say whether those were more offensive or defensive penalties. Either way, it's a benefit for us. But and the refs can get it wrong, people. They can have a bad game where the Chiefs get a lot of the leeway, but those over the course of a season that evens out, and we're halfway through the season at this point. So that big of a gap from their 63 to our 54 or whatever I said it was, or 42, sorry, that's probably more accurate and a more it gives you a better idea of what these teams actually are when they're on the field. The Chiefs are a less penalized team because they play cleaner football. Whether it's ugly or dirty, I don't know. I can't wait to find out. Honestly, it's the Broncos. I hope it's dirty.
You know
I just
what's
hate
funny is that probably 15 of those 42, maybe even 20 of those 42 are offensive line penalties for our Chiefs.
I thought you were about to say that those were all on Jawan Taylor, and I was going to be like, okay, maybe a whole offensive line. Okay, so I'm glad you said offensive line.
False start and holding.
Yes, and then the penalties. So the other big thing was interceptions. Everybody knows Patrick Mahomes tied for most interceptions, but I think that's a skewed stat. We've talked a lot about this. His interceptions early in the season, well, the first 2/3 of the games so far were ugly, bad throws almost completely. And then it started to shift over the last 3 or 4 games where it's more, like just crazy stuff in the universe happens and, it tips off one of the linemen's helmet and it just happens, right? Didn't throw any interceptions last week. So I think that's cleaning up a lot. I'm not so worried about that. But the Broncos, they've given up 7 interceptions. So, wait, is that right? No, the Broncos have had 7 interceptions. So
they've only thrown 6.
They've only thrown 6. Yeah.
And
so
they've had 7 interceptions for 186 yards. So they're getting returns on those receptions.
Yes. Yeah. And
that
could easily turn into a pick 6.
Mahomes has thrown 9 for 125 as opposed to Bo throwing 7 for 186, or Broncos getting 7 for 186. So the Broncos returned those.
So here's what this tells me is that if Patrick Mahomes does make a mistake, which I think we all think he's righting that ship, and he has been righting that ship over the last few games. But if he does, they are very likely to catch that ball. They are very likely to intercept that ball. They've got a lot this season. So hopefully we're right and we're seeing a better side of Mahomes, and it's just going to get better going on. So let's go 2 games in a row with no picks.
Please. Yep.
And and the other stat? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to try to rush us past that because we're kind of in the home stretch here. We're running a little long.
Okay, well, this one just kind of ties in. So their fumbles lost. They've lost 9 fumbles this season, and we have only lost 5, and we've picked up, or our opponents have fumbled the ball 10 times. So I think that we might see 1 or 2 turnovers on the ground.
Well, hold on. They have fumbled 9 times,
and they've lost the ball 7 of those.
Lost at 7 of them. We have fumbled 5 times and lost 3 of them.
3.
Jesus.
But our opponents.
So that means Carson steals 3 of those?
Yes.
Or is he 2 of those?
No, 2 of those.
2.
But our opponents have fumbled 10 times, and we've only got that 3 times.
Yeah. What's up with that?
Just bad luck, bounce of the ball type stuff.
Yep.
It is what it is. So
Yeah, well, our turnover ratio is still -4. Hope we hope to improve that, but
gonna
theirs
turn it
is
around a little bit.
-1. So, but I think we're gonna be fine here. I'm just scared because it is a divisional rivalry, but
Yes, absolutely.
it is at home, so I think we're good. I think we're good.
So what are your keys to the game, Bob, for the Chiefs pulling out this victory and remaining undefeated for this season?
Keys to the game, I think, is just locking down Bo Nix. I think we're gonna do fine stopping the run. I think we just need to lock down Bo Nix running, and I think we're Gucci.
Yeah, I think the other side of that coin is Patrick Surtain. He is a sniper out there in the cornerback position. I just don't expect Patrick to throw it to that side of the field all that often. I think the receivers will kind of be moving around. And unless it's Hopkins on Sertan, I really don't think we're going to see much. We're going to hear his name a whole lot on Sunday.
Yeah, and I mean, the best corners you never hear their name. Snead comes to mind from last year. Never heard his name because nobody dared to throw it over to him.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. But yeah, I agree. If we can contain Bo Nix and keep him under the thumb, I don't think this is even going to be a close one. Um, yeah.
Yep. So
Do you expect to see Uche more this week than we did last week?
I do. Spags even said they're probably gonna get him in more, but he looked good in the plays that he was in. He's definitely not, from what I've seen, a super big run stopper, but he definitely pressured the quarterback a few times. It was his first game. I mean, he had
Yeah.
gotten here and he'd met the team for two days and started or didn't start, but he played a good a good amount of downs. So
Do
I
we
expect we see him.
uh, do we see him get down in the 3-point stance at all? And if so, when?
I don't think
You think
that's.
you think Spags is going to just let him do him?
I would have to look at his college background, but if he's never been a 3-point stance guy, I
Why force
don't
it?
know how hard. Yeah, if Spags can find ways to put him in to not do that, I mean, what the 3-point stance is really going to help you with is run stopping and locking up linemen, right? But yeah, I think that's something we might see next year. Uh,
Mhm.
Once he's had time to get trained up and everything, I just don't think. Yeah, I don't think we see him start doing it, but I'm interested to see how quickly he could transition to that because it definitely it definitely could help.
I feel like him and Spags had a little sit down, and Spags was like, "Look, man, I'm not going to force you to do anything you're not comfortable with. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here, but it is something I'd like you to try out. Maybe try and get comfortable with. Maybe it's something we can add to your resume going forward. So maybe we might see it later in the season, but it's not anything that I'm worried about how he's lining up. If again in Spags we trust, so I think he's going to put the best 11 guys out there for every single play, and so we'll see some Uche and we'll see some without Uche.
Yep, and you had down here Travis Kelsey. Are we gonna continue? Are we gonna continue to see him be a difference maker on the field after? He hasn't been since beef. Like he's only been on fire really
The last two
since
games,
since Hopkins
Hopkins.
got here. And I
I
think is Taylor Swift's tour over?
I think it is, but here's my thing. I don't think Kelsey is going to be as productive this game for a couple of different reasons, and Taylor is not one of those reasons. I think that he's had a couple of big games. I think he's probably a little bit tired. I also think that as the Broncos are a rivalry, they know the Chiefs very well, and Kelsey has been a thorn in their side for many years. So I think their approach is going to be, you know, take away Kelsey and let them beat you where they may. I don't
think it's just gonna be like, we'll take away Kelsey and just see what Hopkins does.
Yeah, but we have Noah Gray back up too, so I feel like Noah Gray is going to get a few more looks this game, and just kind of show his star a little bit. But Hopkins, you can't. At this point, I don't think you can take Hopkins out of the play. So I think that for them to try and take Hopkins out would just be stupid because that just opens up Kelsey for more. So I think they'll focus on Kelsey, which is just going to open up Noah Gray. So I think we'll see a little less out of Kelsey, but it won't matter.
I'm just going to say, you say that Taylor Swift doesn't matter. And unfortunately for Kelsey, this is something people are going to talk about because their relationship is front and center. But, Buck, you've been in love before, too. Early love. And it's going to very much impact. Will you let me finish?
Okay.
Her being at every game and supporting him is definitely going to play into how he plays, and he's going to be a lot happier because she is there. I know you. I know your love life over the years, and I know you'd be just the same. We're romantics. We think about our girl when they're not there, and I mean, we play better when they're here. I mean, I'm just
okay. But you did say early on, and I agree with you, early on in a relationship, but it's been over a year now. This is not they're starting to learn each other's annoyances.
It's not over a year yet.
I think it is.
No, it should be coming up to
or pretty damn close.
I mean, it's about hitting that's that year anniversary.
Yes, the 1 year anniversary.
Well, and they can't spend every day together like a lot of new relationships. So I think he's still in that stage.
Okay, so maybe he elevates his play a little bit when she's there. I'm fine with that, but I don't believe that his off games are a factor that Taylor's not there, that's depressing him and he just can't play as well. That I don't believe.
No,
does he get hyped up when she's there? Okay.
No, I said
I didn't
that.
Say you did. Yeah, I just said I don't think Taylor has much to do with his performance.
Maybe not. But I think the women in our lives have everything to do with our performance in everything we do in life. And I'm sorry, I just think they're a very important part to a man. I'm sorry. That's how I feel.
I guess I'm just a jaded old man.
Get off my lawn. All right. All right. What do we got to end it out here?
Well, what I would love is for some of our listeners to throw out some predictions. So if you guys can leave some comments, maybe throw us a tweet, leave a voicemail, 816-866-1066. We absolutely love getting them and we love listening to them. So please don't hesitate. We got our buddy Jeremy that calls in all the time and we love every single one of those calls. So don't be afraid to, to interject a couple of times per episode, whatever. Can't wait to play more of those.
Yep.
So do it. Do it. Call right now. Or text. You can text that number too.
Do it. All right. Buck, where can we find you?
As always, you can find us, Buck and Bob, on Facebook, also on X. You can find me at Buck_tastic. That's BUK_TASTIK.
And do you have a picture on there yet?
Let's just say yes.
Yeah, I was tagging you in my tweets, and I was like, I still don't have a picture.
I feel like it's one of those questions like you already know the answer before you ask it, but you just got to ask it for posterity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll add that to my list of shit to do this week.
Do it. And you can find all of our links at buckandbob.com. That's BUKNBOB.com. You can find me on Twitter, X at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Let's get out of here.
Just had a great idea for intro music.
What is it? D hop, 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 D hop. Give me that D hop, 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 D. End zone dancing D hop, hop, hop. No.
Hey, listen, I know your wife is out of town at the moment, so I'll just do this for her. Ready? Did you see it?
We'll see you guys after the game.
See you after the game. Or before the game. We're going to go do the tailgate thing again.
Yep. We're crazy.
If you're going to the tailgate, tweet us.
Yep. Tweet us.
We'll come see you.
Tweety, tweet, tweet.
All right, bye for real this time.
Bye.